Every single person on this planet is unique, with their own characteristics and experiences. A few rare individuals become household names, remembered forever for what they've accomplished. But there are people who are literally huge in a different way. People so incredibly massive that it's actually hard to believe they really existed. And that's exactly what you're about to see today. So go ahead and drop a like, hit that subscribe button down below, and let's get into it. At just 14 years old, Canadian Jeremy Goy already stands at an impressive 7 feet 4.5 inches tall. To put that in perspective, he's only just over an inch away from matching the height of two of the greatest basketball players in history, who reached 7 feet 5.25 inches. And what's really striking is that he's still growing. Back in September of 2024, Jeremy was 7 feet 3.25 inches. In just over a year, he gained nearly 3 inches. That caught the attention not just across Canada, but around the entire world. Today, if he were already a professional player, he'd be the tallest player in the NBA, surpassing current names like Zach Edey, who stands at 7 feet 4 inches tall. But he's not just about size. Jeremy already plays for Canada's under-16 national team and participated in the AmeriCup for his age group in June, where the team finished as runners-up. On court, he's still developing with modest stats, but showing real potential. It's curious to see someone his size still living like a regular teenager, going to school and training like any other young athlete. The real question is, will he make history purely because of his height, or will his talent be what truly sets him apart? Before the internet era, there was already a name that seemed like pure legend: Andre the Giant. Born in 1946 in France, he didn't come from a family of giants. Quite the opposite, actually. But while still young, he started growing way above what's normal, the result of a condition called acromegaly. By adulthood, he reached about 7 feet 4 inches tall and weighed over 500 pounds. That made Andre a worldwide attraction. Inside the wrestling ring, he became one of the most famous faces in the entire sport. Outside of it, though, life was much more complicated than it seemed. Simple things became real challenges. Hotel doors were too small, airplane seats felt impossibly tight, and even catching a taxi could turn into a nightmare. In some places, he literally couldn't fit through the entrance properly. Still, he spent a huge part of his life traveling, roughly 320 days every single year, always surrounded by curious fans wanting to see him. Another detail that became legendary was just how much he drank. There are accounts of nights where he consumed over 100 beers. Yet people who spent time with him often said he didn't even seem affected. Despite his fame, Andre lived a quiet life whenever he could, on a ranch in the United States, but his health was deteriorating. He died in 1993 at 46 years old. In the end, he became known as the 8th wonder of the world. And it wasn't just because of his size. It was because of the extraordinary life he lived. Standing at 7 feet 6 inches tall, Yao Ming wasn't just one of the physically largest players ever. He became one of the most influential names in modern basketball. Born on September 12, 1980 in Shanghai, China, he had a connection to the sport from early on since both his parents were athletes too. Yao started as a teenager with the Shanghai Sharks and quickly became a standout. In 2002, he was selected as the first overall pick in the NBA draft by the Houston Rockets, an absolutely massive achievement, especially for a player coming from China back then. Over 9 years in the league, he made 8 All-Star games and became the tallest active player during his final season. On the court, he accumulated more than 9,000 points and nearly 4,500 rebounds. Despite his size, he had great mobility and skill, which helped shatter the idea that extremely tall players had limitations. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Constant injuries to his feet and ankles caused him to miss about 250 games in his later career years. In 2011, he decided to retire. After that, he stayed connected to the sport and even served as president of the Chinese Basketball Association. When all said and done, Yao wasn't defined just by his height. He helped bring basketball to another level in China and around the world. If there's anyone who really took the title of tallest person in history to the extreme, it was Robert Wadlow. Born in 1918 in Alton, United States, he reached a staggering height of 2.72 meters, the tallest ever recorded with documentation. What's curious is he wasn't born a giant. He came into the world with a completely normal size, but as he progressed through childhood, he kept growing without stopping. By age 8, he was already taller than his own father. At school, they had to adapt furniture specifically so he could study. All this happened because of a problem with the gland responsible for growth, which caused his body to produce way too much hormone. Back then, there wasn't any safe treatment available, so he just continued growing throughout his entire life. Despite his struggles, Robert tried to maintain a normal everyday routine. He studied, got into college, and even worked doing campaigns for a shoe company that manufactured special shoes just for him, size 75 in European sizing. But his extraordinary height came with a heavy price. He needed leg braces and had almost no feeling in his feet. In 1940, an infection caused by one of those braces became severe. Not long after, he passed away in his sleep, just 22 years old. Robert became known as the Gentle Giant, and to this day, nobody has ever matched his incredible height. Here we're stepping away from the extreme cases and focusing on a giant who absolutely dominated the sport. Shaquille O'Neal, born on March 6, 1972, in Newark, United States, stands at just 7 feet 1 inch tall, but his impact goes far beyond his height. Weighing around 324 pounds at his peak, he became one of the strongest and most unstoppable players in NBA history. Beyond his massive size, he had incredible strength, speed, and court presence. Anyone watching the games could clearly see that very few people could actually stop him near the basket. Shaq started his career in 1992 with the Orlando Magic and quickly became dominant. Within a few years, he was leading his team to the finals. Then came his peak with the Los Angeles Lakers, winning 3 consecutive championships between 2000 and 2002, being the standout player in every final series. Off the court, he never stopped. He became a commentator, businessman, actor, rapper, and even a reserve police officer, a true giant in every way. Shaq proved that it's not just about being tall, it's what you do with that height that really captures people's attention. This is a more recent case and still surrounded by plenty of mystery. Sulamana Abdul Samed, known as Awiode, was born in 1994 in northern Ghana and became famous for being considered the tallest man in the country. Here's the thing though, he wasn't born that way. According to Sulamana himself, the changes started years later. Suddenly, he noticed his body growing rapidly, his feet getting bigger, and even struggled to breathe at certain moments. Over time came the diagnosis of acromegaly, a condition linked to an excess of growth hormone. In 2022, rumors started circulating that he was around 2.89 meters tall. But when a BBC reporter actually went there to measure him properly using a long measuring tape, the result was quite different, around 2.23 meters. Either way, that's still incredibly tall. Despite his extraordinary height, he lived a relatively normal life. He studied, worked as a farmer and mechanic, and always talked about wanting to get married and have kids. At the same time, he also faces serious physical limitations and needs ongoing medical treatment. Today, his fame helps bring attention to this condition and the real struggles that come with it. Behind that impressive height, some giants are just trying to live their lives like anyone else would. Here is a fascinating case. Leonid Stadnik, a Ukrainian who became known as one of the tallest men in the world. He was born on August 5th, 1970 in the Zhytomyr region, and he wasn't always this tall. Everything changed when he was around 13 years old. After dealing with a brain condition, his body started producing growth hormone in excess. From that point on, he never stopped growing. Over time, he reached an absolutely impressive height, estimated at over 8 feet and 2 inches tall. Despite his fame, Leonid lived a simple life in a village called Podolyantsy. He worked as a veterinarian and was known for helping neighbors with their animals and farm work. But his extraordinary height brought serious difficulties. Doorways were far too low, finding clothes and shoes was nearly impossible, and constant leg pain plagued him. He never chased official recognition and actively avoided the spotlight. For him, being this tall was more of a burden than something to be proud of. Leonid passed away on August 24th, 2014, at just 44 years old. His story really shows that being a giant in reality can be far more complicated than it seems. In Thailand, a young man named Pornchai Saosri caught attention for reaching approximately 2 meters and 57 centimeters in height. At certain moments, he claimed to be even taller, nearly 2.70 meters, though this was never officially confirmed. His growth accelerated early on. By 2009, he was already around 2.28 meters tall. Just a few years later, in 2013, he surpassed 2.5 meters. This rapid increase brought numerous health complications. He could no longer move properly and spent much of his time lying down, depending completely on his family for everything. Despite being pointed out by many people as the world's tallest man at that time, he never made it into Guinness. One reason was that he couldn't stand upright for official measurement. Pornchai died on November 8, 2015, at only 26 years old, following complications related to high blood pressure. His family already faced financial difficulties because of medical treatments, and the local community helped with donations. They say he was the 8th tallest person in history, but he'll probably never receive official recognition. In southern Vietnam, a farmer named Hoan Trang became the subject of an almost unbelievable story. He allegedly reached approximately 2 meters and 75 centimeters in height, a number that, if officially confirmed, would place him among the tallest people ever recorded. What's most fascinating is that his life started completely ordinary. At 17 years old, he stood around 1 meter and 70 centimeters tall, but after suffering from a severe fever, his growth spiraled dramatically out of control. By 22 years old, he was already 2 meters and 10 centimeters. By 34, he'd surpassed 2 meters and 50 centimeters. And between 2018 and 2019 alone, he grew an additional 7 centimeters. Doctors identified a serious problem in the gland responsible for growth hormones. As time passed, other severe complications emerged, including kidney failure. The situation became so dire that the hospital needed a larger bed because standard beds simply wouldn't fit him. Hoan Trang passed away on November 2nd, 2019, at 34 years old. At that time, family members and people close to him measured his total height and confirmed 2 meters and 75 centimeters. For his burial, they had to commission a custom coffin, approximately 2 meters and 80 centimeters long. Even without official global recognition, many people genuinely believe he may have been one of the tallest individuals in human history, possibly even the very tallest of all. In Venezuela, a name entered the Guinness Book of World Records, but not because of his height. Instead, another part of his body was remarkably large. Jason Rodriguez Hernandez stands at approximately 7 feet 2 inches tall, which places him well above average. From a young age, his growth accelerated unusually fast. As a teenager, he already stood out noticeably wherever he went. Over time, his body continued developing at this rapid rate, creating real difficulties in everyday life. Among his distinctive characteristics, one feature ultimately became a world record: his feet. The right foot measures more than 15 3/4 inches, and the left one is nearly identical. This detail earned him the official title of having the largest feet in the world among all living people, officially recognized by Guinness in 2014. But Jason's height really does impact his daily life in major ways. Finding clothes that fit, getting around, and even doing simple tasks can become a real struggle. Nothing is really designed for someone his size. Still, Jason keeps moving forward with his goals. Hez mentioned wanting to work as a chef and also help other people living with similar conditions. Sultan Kosen from Turkey, standing at 2 meters and 51 centimeters tall, is recognized by Guinness as the tallest living man in the world. Sultan was born on December 10th, 1982, in the Mardin region, and he lived a simple life as a farmer. But his extraordinary growth completely changed everything. He developed a condition linked to a tumor in the gland responsible for growth hormones, which caused his body to keep growing far beyond what was normal. Because of this, his daily routine was never stereotypical. He uses crutches to get around, and he's mentioned that simple things like getting into a car or buying clothes can become a real challenge. At the same time, he also sees some advantages, like being able to reach high places with ease and help with everyday tasks. In 2009, he officially entered the Guinness Records, breaking the previous record. Years later, he underwent treatment in the United States that managed to control his growth. Sultan became known for curious encounters, like when he met the world's shortest man at a London event. The difference between them was absolutely enormous. When people see him on streets or TV, they're impressed by his height, but they can't imagine how his life is far more complicated than it appears. In India, a young man named Vikas Uppal became known as possibly the tallest man in the country. He was born on January 1st, 1986, in the Rohtak region of Haryana state, and from an early age he stood out because of his extraordinary height. During his teenage years, his growth continued relentlessly without stopping. In 2004, when he was still less than 20 years old, he was already estimated to be around 2 meters and 51 centimeters tall. In other reports, people claimed he could have exceeded 2 meters and 60 centimeters. The problem is that there was never an official measurement recognized by Guinness, so the numbers vary quite a bit. Even without confirmation, many people believed he could have been the tallest man in the world at that time. Despite his local fame, he didn't receive much support or resources. He appeared at events like a political rally and even made a small appearance in Indian cinema, but in his daily life he faced common difficulties for someone with this type of condition. Vikas died very young on June 30th, 2007 at just 21 years old during surgery to treat a brain tumor in Delhi. To this day, his case raises questions and doubts. Without official records, we simply cannot know what his true height actually was. Going back in time to the United States, a young man named Bernard Coyne was already considered one of the tallest humans in history. He was born in 1897 in Iowa, and he reached something around 8 feet 4 inches in height. From an early age, his growth was drawing attention. Even as a teenager, he was already over 6.5 feet tall. And the thing is, he just kept growing throughout his entire life. His daily routine was completely filled with adaptations. His own father had to build special furniture, like a bigger bed and even a custom-made chair. To ride in a car, he had to sit sideways with his legs sticking out. Clothing was also a huge problem, often made specially just for him. Despite people's curiosity, Bernard lived a much more private life. He did make some public appearances, but he really didn't enjoy that kind of exposure. Over time, his health started getting worse. In his final years, he hardly left his house and experienced constant pain. Even so, he kept in touch with friends and received visits regularly. Bernard died on May 20th, 1921, when he was only 23 years old. For his funeral, an enormous coffin was needed, made completely to order. His life was a stark contrast between trying to live it quietly and the attention he drew without wanting to, all because of his incredible size. Don't forget to subscribe so you can watch more videos just like this one.